Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to Fat Cat Collections. Folks, this is a public service announcement, so to speak. I want to share with you guys a brand I reviewed many times on this channel, about 5 or 6 times. The brand is Ocean Eva. If you haven't checked out my review on the Deep Marine Explorer 2, insane build quality, insane specs, spec monster, luxury brand killer, however you want to call it. It's amazing, right? I never understand why folks who spend thousands of dollars on watches don't pick these up. I mean, it makes no sense to me to spend $5,000 to $20,000, and if not more, on a watch like a Rolex. Don't beat me down here. I'm not saying they're not a great brand, but the specs you're getting on these micro brands is absolutely insane. Now, I'm not saying that every watch is the same out there. I know a lot of times when I do videos talking about Invicta or Aragon, these other brands I work with and that I've reviewed, that I own, that I buy, across the board, there's not a lot of difference. And one thing I always want you guys to understand, I gotta slap this on the wrist. One thing I always want you guys to understand is that when it comes to watches, there are differences across all price points, but they're not as insane as the watch snob tries to make you believe. And they have to do that in order to rationalize the insane price on a lot of these like mainstream brands, like Rolex, like Seiko, like Omega. Again, not saying they're not amazing watches, right? But they're not that much more amazing than many of these other brands out there, right? It's not, they make the argument that you're gonna pick up one and pick up the other, and you're gonna say, oh my God, this is like night and day. I get it. I totally understand what I'm paying for. And most people who are really honest with themselves, who are really just like actually use their brain and look at the differences that you can actually feel and see, there's not much there. There's not really much more. Again, you should always buy what makes you happy and what you want to wear and get enjoyment out of. Absolutely. But don't think that when you pay $20,000 for a watch, that you are getting that something like these other micro brands or even like an Invicta, that it just makes that watch completely a piece of garbage. This is not the case, right? If anything, these more affordable brands are more impressive because you're not paying that insane amount of money. Luxury brands have getting away with this for many, many years because modern manufacturing wasn't always what it is today, right? So nowadays, we have the modern manufacturing has brought these inexpensive, affordable watches to a level that's just was not seen 20 years ago. So a lot of those luxury brands are kind of living in the past. I'm not saying that there isn't that they're not horology, that they're not significant in the world of horology, right? I'm not saying that they're not important, right? I'm not saying people shouldn't buy them. I'm just saying I'll never spend the money for those watches when you can get watches by these micro brands like Oceaneva for these price points, right? And it just seems like Oceaneva is getting more and more competitive. So if you haven't checked out my review on the Deep Marine Explorer 2, check it out. They have a 3, they have an original, and a lot more changes in the depth rating and a little bit more of the robustness of the build. But this is one of the few companies that are micro brand companies that make affordable watches that actually put their money where their mouth is. They know the importance of the specifications when it comes to selling their watches. I've said it many times with other brands I reviewed. I like many watches. I wear many different brands. There's not much I won't wear. But what I don't like is when companies do create a watch and they leave out a lot of the specs. And they need to understand that people, when they're looking for watches, they do really pay attention to the specifications. And a lot of people won't buy a watch if they don't know exactly what they're getting, right? Some are open-minded like me and they're like, yeah, it's not that big a deal. For me, it's easier because I work with a lot of these companies. So a lot of times I do get free watches. It just depends on the company. Now, Oceaneva, again, I've worked with them on 5 or 6 occasions. They're nice enough to sponsor my videos. And I really get to see what you guys get for your money. So it's pretty important. So again, specifications, they put everything on their website. So there's really no questions left unanswered, right? And what I am going to do is I'm going to put a couple links in the description. One, where you can pick up the pre-release of their new watch, which is what we're going to talk about today, which is their I believe it's another Deep Marine Explorer, but it's actually, I believe it's a Deep Marine Explorer 2, if I'm using the terminology correctly, but a GMT automatic version. Now, they previously came out with a quartz version, and that's a really big checkbox for some folks. Some folks won't buy a quartz. I'm pretty open-minded, but I'll always gravitate more towards the automatics. It's just something about the mechanics and knowing that I don't really have to pop the back off in a couple years to change the battery. I don't know. They're just something. I know when a lot of times you open up a quartz watch, it's still, it's still impressive. And quartz are superior when it comes to accuracy of an automatic, right? We all know that. I hope you guys know that. But I love the automatics. You know, I like the fact that there's an engine in there, you know. And, you know, it's kind of like I compare it to like an electric car, right? You know, there's definitely a market for electric cars. There are people who, you know, technically an electric car is, you know, it's more efficient, and we're not going to get involved in, you know, the batteries and all that stuff. But you know, it's in my opinion a superior way to get from point A to B, right? But there's just I just can't do it, right? I'm never going to go towards an electric car without kicking and screaming, right? I just love the sound of the motor, you know? With automatic watches, sometimes you hear the rotor moving, right? Sometimes they have an exhibition window. So I do like the mechanics behind having an automatic watch. I will always gravitate towards the worst. If you can just say, hey, this is the worst automatic movement made, I'll always gravitate towards having that than a quartz watch that may be more reliable. So the good thing is nobody's really making garbage nowadays, in my opinion. You know, I feel like all the watches, even like really inexpensive automatic watches, are still pretty impressive. Remember, we're not living in the 80s anymore. Modern manufacturing. Remember those movements maybe you'd get in the 80s that were automatic, were like state of the art? Now it's a piece of cake. Now it's a very inexpensive $10 movement out of China, right? Now, this isn't one of these brands doing that. Their automatics are using really like spec monster movements, right? So, and when we think about watches and we think about what is one of the most affordable watch movements out there, that whether you like the brands I like or don't, or we all can agree to disagree, that the Seiko Automatic NH35 is an iconic movement. Well, the new Deep Marine GMT, and again, I may be wrong in the name here, it's not out yet. I'm going to put the link in the description where you can sign up for the mailing list. It's going to come out this week. So they just finished production, to the best of my knowledge, and it's going to be, the price point from my contact is going to be stupid. Now, just to let you guys know, just to give you guys an example on what their quartz version, and if you are a quartz guy, by all means, check out their quartz version, right? Again, the link's going to be in the description. But their quartz version of the GMT Deep Marine, they're one of the only companies, if not the only company, that has done a quartz watch, in a GMT with these kinds of specs, right? $349 for a 1250 meter Deep Marine GMT, right? Which is, I mean, it's pretty incredible, because when you go looking at what $349 gets you in a lot of other brands, you know, go into the mall and look at what $349 gets you. You're not going to get a watch with these kinds of specs. And if I just use the specs from the other builds, again, we don't know all the specs on the new one. This is the specs on the quartz version. You have your screw down crown with triple seal. I mean, a lot of companies don't even mention that. You have 1,250 meters of water resistance, right? Integrated case crown guards, Trident logo on the crown. That's their logo. I absolutely love their logo. Here it is on the Deep Marine Explorer 2. It's just a Trident. Clean, simple. They don't overbrand their watch, which is, again, they pay attention to what, you know, you guys know I joke all the time, I'm like, all right, well, why would you worry about extra branding, right? And it doesn't really bother me personally, but it does to a lot of folks. So this company listens. This is one of the few companies that actually, for this price point, puts their watches, they put their money where their mouth is. I'm going to put 2 more links in the description where they sent one of their GMT watches down. I believe this is this watch, all the way down to 5,325 feet on an Ocean Rover. I mean, pretty incredible, and the watch came up no problems, right? Didn't take on any water, didn't break, nothing. So, I mean, again, what other company can you find for a $350 price point that's going to send their watch down on a Rover? I mean, that's something like Rolex does in these super expensive brands. They have deep pockets to do things like that. This is not a company, this is not a price point you normally see folks doing that with, right? So you have the standard stuff, 316L surgical grade stainless steel. You know, I'm not going to get involved in the specs and all that as far as size. 42 millimeter case diameter, you can kind of get an idea what that's going to be like. When I get the actual watch in my hand, we'll do a full review of it. What else you got? The lume on these things is fantastic. BGW9 on hands, hour markers. All markers are numbers on bezel, top grade, long-lasting luminescence. You know, fantastic. And again, you know, this one's a Swiss movement on the quartz version. Probably a Ronda. Yeah, it is a Ronda. Swiss-made Ronda 515.24. Awesome. You know, that's not going to be your, you know, off-brand like no-name brand. Just simple, you know, kind of fashion watch, quartz movement. You know, at least they're using, again, Ronda is a fantastic. If I have to choose a quartz movement in any brand, it's going to be Ronda. And that's what I like a lot of companies are using. A very well-respected brand, right? And again, water resistance on this, 4,100 feet, 1,250 meters. So 4-year warranty on the quartz version. Helium escape valve, 683 fathoms, marked on the dial. Again, I'm not going to read all this. I'm continuing on to read this, but I'm going to put the links in the description. Now, this is, to my understanding, going to be released this week, and you can do an early sign up on their website. I strongly encourage you, if you are an Ocean Eva fan, even if you're not, check it out. The price on these is going to be great. For, I believe if you sign up early, you're going to get a discount on them. And what happens is generally they'll sell a whole bunch right when they come out, and then next thing you know, they're going to jack the price up. I don't know that for to be 100%, but I've seen that before. So I would get on it while you can. If you have any other questions about like some of the other models, like I said, I reviewed about 5 different watches. I was pretty surprised because when he sent me the email about their new release, I actually just emailed. I was like, why is it still on the website? I didn't realize they had the quartz version on there. Most important when it comes to this watch is that, and let me just scroll back here because I just had the email open here. So if you look at comparable watches with these specs, and I'm not going to read every single spec here. I encourage you to click the link and read about it, right? When you just look at any of their watches, you're going to see that they really focus on letting people know what they're doing with their watches, how they're built, what specs you have. They're not like putting in just a couple and being like, all right, well, you know, live with it. They're putting in every bit of information they possibly can because they understand that people do really shop specs, right? Now, the movement going to be using this is an NH34. So you get that Seiko Automatic GMT version. And that's, my understanding is that's comparable to the Seiko Caliber 4R34, which is exactly the same movement. But what Seiko does is when they sell that movement to be used in other brands, they just, they rebrand it, right? Or give it a new model number. Hence the NH34. That's what I find with the NH series. You'll find that same movement, to the best of my knowledge, in a lot of Seiko watches. But when they sell to other brands to use, they sell those individual movements to be used in other micro brands, other companies. They're just going to call them a different name, right? Probably to charge more for their actual watches, right? But my understanding, it's exactly the same. If you look at comparable price watches using the 4R34, you're looking at about $475, and they just sell out. So when my contact says the price is going to be stupid on this, and he's giving me links to Seiko at $475, I think you're going to find this watch, I don't want to say in the threes, but I just don't see this watch being over $400 if he's giving me a comparison with Seiko saying this is going to be an exceptional value. So again, a lot of GMT movements. If you look at other companies out there, Seiko, Swiss made, if you get a Swiss made automatic GMT, you're generally paying into the thousands. So if we get this watch in the $300 to $400 price range, insane. I can't imagine it's going to be less than that. But go compare other watch brands. Go compare watches, micro brand watches with comparable specs. Compare the specs on this to luxury brands, the 316 stainless steel. You're going to see that on both a watch that costs $20,000 and $300, right? Now, of course, Rolex uses 904. In real world, it doesn't make any difference at all. It offers you no benefit. And I always joke, unless you're going to be a mermaid, live at the bottom of the ocean, there's really no benefit to 904. Again, if it makes you happy to have it, great, but don't think that it is superior to 316. It's just not. It's more corrosive resistance to acidics. And again, the 904 stainless steel is mainly used in like chemical plants and applications where they need that extra resistance to corrosion. For you and me, we don't need that, right? So I mean, you're getting all the specs you need in a watch for an insane price point. So here's what else he says here. He says, again, I'm gonna put the 2 links to the pressure testing they did on their deep marines. I'm gonna put the link to where you can sign up and get this, and then just their standard website link. And you'll see it next week. So that's it. That's about that. I'm really excited they're releasing another, because every time, here's what actually happened. I went to their website and I was just seeing if they had anything new, right? And I saw another watch. I said, when did you guys release this? I would love to get my hands on it. And he had told me, I forget which watch it is, but he was saying, hey, it's not one of our most popular watches. I said, I love that watch. It looks great. So I actually bought it because I know what kind of quality you get with this company. And, I know a lot of you folks have watched me for years. You're like, I just like big watches. I like all watches. I enjoy getting something new. I enjoy the fun of waiting for the UPS truck or the mail lady to, come up with the new watch. And I really enjoy just being able to accessorize, It's great I got one of my new coworkers talking about watches now. So it's a lot of fun. You know, a lot of times people, you know, they think you have to spend so much money to play, right? To pay to play. They think you have to spend thousands of dollars, otherwise you're just not getting a quality watch. So they're like, oh, I don't want to spend my money, I want a piece of garbage, right? It's not the case. When you have brands like this, it's allowing everybody to get their hands on a watch, wear a watch, and enjoy this fun hobby. You're not going to get... Nobody's going to pick up the Ocean Eva brand and look at this and say, oh man, it feels inferior. These are spec monster watches, which is why they do so well. Again, you may not agree with my taste and my style and kind of things that I'm willing to accept with a watch, if it's quartz or if it's, you know, if it has a stamped clasp or whatnot, or versus milled, you know, sapphire versus, you know, acrylic or some kind of cristerna. You know, those things aren't too important to me, but with this company, they know what is important to the people who enjoy collecting watches, and they just make sure they check all the boxes. So I don't see, this is a no-brainer for you to pick this up, and I do encourage you guys to check it out. If you get it, let me know. I want to hear what you guys think of the watch. If you haven't checked, if you've already purchased an Ocean Eva, you know what kind of quality you're getting, so we don't really have to have that conversation. But if you haven't discovered Ocean Eva yet and you get one, do comment and let me know what you think of the quality when you get it, because remember, anything you comment to me, I'm going to share with the owner of the company, and you know, this is how improvements are made. I don't think anybody's got any complaints with this brand. I can't imagine how you could, even if you're super picky. I can't imagine how you could. So links in the description. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch. During this video you probably saw some pop-ups pop up with the pictures. There are 9 different color variations. Let me know in the comment section your favorite one. I'm going to put all the information in there in the comment section as well. And have fun collecting, guys. Have a great day.